Hi, I'm Baleen Whale. In this video, I'll be going over what we know about the current iteration of Blockade, Stormgate's first playable hero. I'm not in the Stormgate beta, so I'd like to thank the content creators Loco, Grubby, Liverbee, Trump SC, Beastie Cutie, Hurricane, Winter Starcraft, and Pig, from whose videos I've learned what I have about Blockade, and where I've sourced many of the clips and screenshots I use in this video. I've put links to their VODs I watched in the description. Because part of what makes Blockade unique is how his units and techs differ from the default Vanguard faction, I'll also be talking a little bit about the default Vanguard to provide context. Note that since I'm only working off VODs, it's very likely that I missed some things, so this overview is not totally comprehensive. Additionally, everything I'm about to say is only what we know of from the closed beta footage that people had permission to stream back in December 2023. It's extremely likely that much of this will no longer be relevant in just a few months. I'm making this video partly for fun, but also because this is the kind of content I'd love to watch if someone else made it, but no one else has yet so far. Now, let's talk about Blockade. Captain Carl Barkley, callsign Blockade, has been fighting the good fight since the Infernals invaded. As second in command of the elite dagger team known as the Warhawks, he utilizes his shockhammer to protect and punish. Blockade is a tough frontline hero who is kind of a sci-fi paladin. There are several distinct visual similarities to Warcraft 3's paladin, such as the double capes off his back, the iconic two-handed hammer, and the beard. Now, let's go over his abilities, starting with his basic attacks. Blockade uses Thunderhammer Bash against ground targets, but even aerial enemies are not safe, as Blockade has a separate auto attack for air units called Thunderhammer Strike. Like any good paladin, Blockade is able to support his allies with his first ability, Revitalize. Revitalize heals a target unit for 200 health and dispels all negative debuffs on it. Additionally, Blockade is healed for 100 health. Note that you can also use this on the catapults that you can capture from the siege camps.
Oh, we can heal the catapult!
This is Blockade's only ability to not have a cooldown, but does have a tiny cast time and costs energy. All his other abilities have cooldowns in addition to an energy cost. Blockade's second ability, Heroic Leap, launches him to a target area. On impact, nearby allies are granted a shield and have increased healing effectiveness, whereas enemies take damage and are stunned. Blockade's third ability, Hammer Time, causes him to spin to win, gaining bonus move speed and damaging enemies around him for its duration. You can use Heroic Leap while Hammer Time is active. Blockade's fourth and ultimate ability is Redemption Rift. After a brief channel time, Blockade teleports himself and your nearby units to a target-friendly hero or structure. This ability has a hefty 3-minute cooldown. Blockade also has 3 passive abilities. The first is Hammerforged Renewal. It turns out he's pretty handy with that hammer outside of combat too, and this lets him right-click on friendly mechanical units and structures to repair them over time. His second and third passive must be researched once a scrapyard has been built. That's the Vanguard's Therium drop-off building. One of these researchable passives is Relentless Healer, which grants him bonus attack speed and armor whenever he heals a unit. The other one is Revitalization Radiance, which causes Blockade's Revitalize ability to also heal nearby friendly units for a smaller amount. Now, let's take a look at his units. Blockade has 3 main deviations from the baseline Vanguard's units. The default Exos are replaced by Guardsmen, the default Lancers are replaced with Crusaders, and the default Medtechs are replaced with Combat Medics. Before I go over these, I need to explain that his Guardsmen and Crusaders are kind of opposite where they are on the base Vanguard tech tree. With the default Vanguard faction, Lancers are their most basic infantry unit, trained from the barracks. Exos require a biokinetics lab before they can be trained, and have a Therium cost. With Blockade, this script is flipped. His Guardsmen are the ones that can be trained as soon as you have a barracks, and are very cheap, not even costing any Therium. And the Crusaders require a biokinetics lab and have a Therium cost. Now, let's take a look at these units individually, starting with the Guardsman. These are your basic rifle infantry that can attack both ground and air targets. Guardsmen are much cheaper than Exos, but they are also comparatively weaker in terms of raw stats. However, the two units have different strengths. The default Vanguard's Exos have an ability called Quick Draw Hustle, which grants them bonus move speed when they attack, encouraging stutter step micro. Guardsmen, on the other hand, can be upgraded with an ability which is the antithesis of that. They can dig in, which makes them completely immobile, but grants them increased attack speed, range, and armor. While deployed, the button for dig in changes to withdraw, which you can press to return them to their original mobile form. I really like the dig in ability, as I think stutter step micro is something a lot of casual players may not do, and dig in emphasizes Blockade's fantasy as a defensive, hold the line hero, although obviously it's a strong offensive tool as well. Next up are his Crusaders. I feel like these are kind of his signature unit, especially since in the closed beta build, he starts the game with one for free. In exchange for Crusaders being more expensive and slightly higher up the tech tree than Lancers, you get a beast of a melee unit. Crusaders have 30% more hit points compared to Lancers, deal damage in a cone instead of a line, and Crusaders take 50% less damage from ranged attacks, thanks to their passive, Valiant Fortitude. Also, quick shout out to Beastie Cutie, who was the only person I watched who moused over these passive icons. Without him, we would have no idea what they were. Finally, Crusaders can also be upgraded with the Battle Frenzy active ability, which is effectively a stim pack if you're familiar with Terrans in StarCraft. Battle Frenzy grants Crusaders increased attack and movement speed for 10 seconds for a health cost. Battle Frenzy can also be set on autocast. Blockade's third unit variant is the Combat Medic. Even though Combat Medics can attack both ground and air enemies, its attack is quite weak, so you really want to be building these for their support abilities. Combat Medics seem to be in the same place on the tech tree as the default Vanguard's Medtech unit, though both units have different abilities. The Medtech's basic healing ability is Med Patch, which is a one-off burst heal with a 2-second heal over time as well. By comparison, Blockade's Combat Medics heal units in a way that is more familiar to StarCraft players, using their Restoration Beam, which is channeled healing much like the Medic in Brood War, although it also enhances the effectiveness of other heals on the same target. Similar to spellcasters in Warcraft 3, these medics can be upgraded with Adept Training and Master Training, unlocking a second and third ability while improving their energy regeneration. The Medtech's second ability is Nano Swarm, and the Combat Medic's second ability is Guardian Swarm. These are both similar in that you cast them onto a single unit, and they create an aura around that unit, which has a different effect depending on if that unit was an ally or an enemy. Both Nano Swarm and Guardian Swarm do different things. When cast on a friendly target, the Medtech's Nano Swarm heals nearby friendly mechanical units, and when cast on an enemy target, it damages nearby enemy mechanical units. When Blockade's Combat Medic casts their Guardian Swarm on a friendly target, it grants increased armor to all nearby friendly units, whether they are mechanical or biological. And when cast on an enemy target, it lowers the armor of all nearby enemy units, again, regardless of if they're mechanical or biological.
This ability the combat medics have appears to be OP.
The Medtech's third ability is System Shock, which affects an area, removing all positive buffs from enemy units and removing all negative buffs from friendly ones, as well as granting those friendly units bonus move speed. The Combat Medic's third ability is Invigorate, which, sadly, I couldn't find an instance of someone mousing over the ability's tooltip. I'm sure someone did, but it's hours and hours worth of footage for something that may only have lasted for a single second, and I've not been able to find it. However, if one of you have seen it, please do let me know what VOD you saw it in, as I'd love to check it out. From the name, it sounds like it buffs allied units in some way. Finally, Combat Medics have a passive which lets them slow enemies that they attack. The tooltip for this wasn't moused over in any of the videos I watched, but you can see the Combat Medic's build pop up mentioning a slow effect for its attacks, so I assume that's what this passive icon is indicating.
Or let's just ignore these fighters, just kill the thing before it gets out of here. Oh, it gets slowed when it's getting attacked by the looks of it, or something's slowing it.
Now let's talk about Blockade's cooldowns by comparing them with some default Vanguard stuff. The default Vanguard faction has two abilities at their command post. They can use Bob Overcharge, which temporarily doubles your workers' attack and armor, and they have a scouting sensor drone they can send out. Blockade doesn't have either of these. Instead, he gets a whole new set of 4 cooldowns. The first 2 are available at the start of the game, though the third and fourth are unlocked later. Blockade's first cooldown is Emergency Sentry, which instantly creates a sentry post at the target location. It has a limited duration, but is also much stronger than a regular sentry post. Blockade's second cooldown is Fortify, which grants a temporary but massive shield to a target structure. I can see this being great in those situations where your army is out of position during an attack wave and you need to buy some time for your forces to return and bolster your defense. It also probably has very strong offensive applications when paired with Emergency Sentry, creating a really powerful static defense structure right in the enemy's base. Blockade's third cooldown is Paramedics, which calls down 2 Paracombat Medics with a timed life. These are like the combat medics that Blockade can train, but have a much higher healing rate. Blockade's final and most powerful cooldown is Last Stand. This increases the damage of friendly units in a target area for 20 seconds, and if they would take fatal damage, they gain invulnerability for 20 seconds instead. Last Stand has a 3-minute cooldown. Lastly, let's take a look at a couple team-wide upgrades that Blockade can research. These, I would assume from the name, benefits all players on your team. His first team-wide upgrade is Recovery Guard, which temporarily increases the armor of friendly units whenever they are healed or repaired. His second team-wide upgrade is Nanite Reconstruction, which increases the health regeneration of friendly mechanical units by 2 hit points per second. I love that team-wide upgrades are a thing, as I think it really emphasizes the cooperative nature of this game mode. The civilizations in Age of Empires 2 also each have a unique team-wide bonus, and I think it's really cool that something like that is baked into the co-op factions of Stormgate. That just about covers what I've been able to learn about Blockade from watching VODs. Again, I'm sure I missed several things, so please don't treat this as a comprehensive look, just one that I'd like to think is reasonably thorough for someone who isn't in the beta. I'm looking very forward to the reveal of new heroes, as well as the changes and additions that Blockade will receive between now and launch. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. As of the time I made this video, Stormgate's Kickstarter is still on, so consider making a pledge if you haven't yet, and are as excited for this game's release as I am.
This is under attack.